This is Popular Front, a podcast focused on the niche details of modern warfare and underreported conflict with me, Jake Hanrahan. Today we're speaking to an activist who has been on the ground protest in Minneapolis since the secondary clashes began 2 days ago. Of course, these clashes started because an unarmed black man was murdered by 4 police officers on Monday. One police officer with his whole weight on the guy's neck for more than 5 minutes until he died. 2 others on his back holding him down, and 1 police officer watching and making sure nobody intervened. It is a straight up murder. I don't care if someone says that's not objective. It's a murder. If you don't think that's a murder, I don't know what to fucking tell you. So we're covering this situation, but I didn't want to talk to all the journalists who are kind of on the outside covering it, or analysts or whatever. I wanted to speak to someone who is absolutely 100% on the ground. So we're speaking to this lad called Nevada. He's an activist from an anti-authoritarian activist movement called Vitalist International. Quite interesting bunch. Like I said, you know, he's an activist. He's very anti-police, which is understandable considering the situation that's just happened in Minnesota. But he's got very good insight into what's going on. Now, this episode is mostly just to say, hey, this is what happened, you know, and from what's going on the ground. We're not looking to like intellectualize it or go on about the politics of this, that, and the other. A man has been murdered by a police officer. So we really want to focus on that and, you know, what's happened off the back of the clashes. So anyway, here's Nevada telling us what he's seen from the ground. So that video came out like Tuesday, and then almost immediately, right, people started protesting. It's turned into clashes. You've been there from day one, basically. You know, it's only been going on 2 days, but you were there from the start, as I understand. Maybe explain to us how did this all gather? Like, people started going down to the 3rd precinct.
Yeah, so everything sort of started at 38th in Chicago, which is where George Floyd was killed. There's sort of been kind of like an ongoing vigil site there from the beginning. There was like a protest called for like that evening at 5 p.m. on that of a Tuesday, and I mean it was like massive. Even like by 5 p.m. there was like thousands of people there. Different groups started splitting off from that, going to the 3rd precinct, which I think is 2 miles away. You know, windows started getting broken. A lot of people were just very angry. People started vandalizing the building, like skipping it, throwing bricks at the windows, tearing off like fixtures on it. Some of the milk that people had on hand to supposedly the tear gas started getting thrown at the building and into the windows. And probably around, people broke open the gate into the parking lot where a lot of the police cars are stored. So people broke open the gate and started breaking the police vehicles. And around 8 o'clock, I think, is sort of when the police started shooting tear gas into the street and into their parking lot. I think they might have shot it like once or twice before, but it was like right around 8 o'clock that it started getting a lot more heavy-handed. But people didn't really fully disperse. The area around the precinct is actually very open. There's like multiple parking lots surrounding it, and there's sort of like kind of this like open like hill like in front of the Hiawatha like highway that people could sort of like retreat to and then collect themselves and like advance again. So the entire night, basically, from probably like 7 p.m. onward, till at least like 3 in the morning, people were basically kind of like advancing, retreating, fighting against the police, who could basically do nothing but like defend like their building, the 3rd precinct. And at some point later, probably like 10 or 11, the liquor store, which is like across the street from the precinct, started getting looted. That was the only time the police ever sort of advanced, was when they at 2 different points they advanced to like reclaim the liquor store and like close it off from looters. But the first time they had to retreat, and it was shortly after that like looters went back in, and so then there was like a second move around like 1:30 a.m. Where they had a tactical team kind of move in, reclaim the liquor store, and then I think at that point it have stayed because by like 2 a.m. there was like probably less than 100 people around, and from there I was there that night until probably around 2:30, around that time, and I don't know if at some point, I'm sure that like everyone went home, but people came right back out again in the morning, and that sort of like standoff like continued for the entire like rest of yesterday, which is Wednesday.
What are the police firing? They're coming out. When they first came out to the protesters, what did they do exactly? Like, they were firing tear gas straight away? They gave you a warning or what?
There was definitely no warnings whenever I was there about anything that they were firing. They were on Tuesday, on the first day, there was mostly tear gas that they were shooting into the streets, into the crowds. And then at some point, a little later in the night, they switched to these like marker rounds, which I feel like is not very common in a lot of other cities. The cities this has been used for several years now, but they're like rubber bullets with this kind of like colorful chalk on the outside, so that it hits you and has the impact of a rubber bullet, but it also like covers you in this like neon green color, which is allegedly used to like mark out with the intention that they can arrest you after the fact. But as far as Minneapolis goes, I don't think I've ever heard of someone being arrested after the fact because of it. I think it's just to like hurt people, and like a scare tactic as well.
Yeah, and what are the protests? I mean, I've seen like a few Molotovs. It seems like mostly rocks. What are the protesters fighting back with?
Yeah, I'd say so. Definitely on the first day, like people were more congregated around where there was a train line that passed by. So there was like a lot of like rocks available there. People have been passing out water bottles to like drinks. It's like just really necessary to stay hydrated, but that means that there's lots of like plastic bottles around. There have been reports that there were Molotov cocktails. I haven't personally seen any of that, but there's definitely been like times that I like haven't been there and could have missed it. I think people are like breaking up pieces of like bricks that are sort of like around bus stops and stuff. People are sort of basically finding like anything around them to throw. People have been making barricades out of shopping carts from like the Target and the Aldi that are like right around this area. People are sort of just like finding everything they can to like use to defend themselves. There's like a lot of like metal barricades that the police brought out, I think to like corral the protests. People just took those over really quickly and used them to make barricades with.
And last night things got a lot heavier, right? What happened?
Yeah, so for most of the like afternoon and evening, the clashes were focused mainly still again around the precincts, but by the time like sunset, looting started spreading east on Lake Street, away from precinct at least 10 blocks, and it became very like scattered. It was very spread out, and also in the over by like some of the big box stores, there was like Target and like Cub Foods grocery store that both started getting looted and getting burned. Area across from that is like the Aldi, and there was this like under construction like condo building that both ended up on fire. The AutoZone, of course, is in the middle of all of this. That got lit on fire pretty quickly after people started looting it, although it took like maybe an hour or two for that fire to like really spread. And you can imagine the sort of things that are inside an AutoZone that became very explosive.
What is that? We don't have that in the UK. What is it, like a car shop? Okay.
It's a car parts shop.
Uh-huh.
So then at some point in the evening, I guess I don't really have a good idea of like when it started, but like looting and property damage started spreading to a lot of different neighborhoods, like west on Lake Street, for at least like 3 miles. A lot of people seem to do the more like developed, gentrified area of Uptown, where there's like higher end stores that started getting their windows broken and some looting started happening. But also to just like other neighborhoods, like in Seward, which is like maybe like a mile north of where these protests are happening. So basically it's in a lot of different areas where the like basically we're not able to respond because they're sort of like stuck in this defensive position of just defending like the precinct. And like by late into the night, probably by like 10 or 11, they started they like kind of reclaimed the area by the auto zone. I imagine just to like facilitate the fire truck to come in and put out the fire. Also, speaking of things spreading, I've gotten word that like as of like an hour ago, looting has started in St. Paul, which is like across the river from us, our twin city. So that's like happening right now in the middle of the day. It's like 2 p.m. here right now. And that just seems to have spontaneously started.
Right. And what's the feel on the ground? Like, I mean, obviously everybody and anyone with in their right mind is incredibly angry about this murder of George Floyd. But what are the protesters saying? Like, are people forming groups, or is it all still just kind of rage at the minute?
There's absolutely a lot of rage, a lot of hurt. I think one of the reasons why this has been so like as intense and explosive as it is just because people are like at this point just so exasperated. You know, it's been like almost 6 years now since Michael Brown was killed in Ferguson, and that like certainly wasn't like the start of like racist policing. Like I think it just like goes to show like how long people have been sort of expecting justice and not getting it. And people are just super angry, super pissed. People hate the police. There's not even as many calls as there usually are to like prosecute the officers. Like there still is some amounts of narrative around that, but like far more people just hate the police, hate the law. There's like lots of tags about like shooting cops and killing cops. People definitely like have guns. I don't think that any gunshots have been fired at the police yet.
But people are carrying.
But that could, there was definitely like people shooting in the air at least a few times. So that feels like definitely much more the mood. But I also want to like highlight that like people also like. There's kind of this like joyful feeling too, where like people are like taking over the streets, and the like, you know, it's a very powerful feeling to like push back the police, to like see them retreat when you and like hundreds of other people are like working together to like take over like space, and you know, people are like, you know, they're looting grocery stores, they're looting like pawn shops and banks and everything, and like the convenience stores, and like grabbing like food and like medicine and like handing it out to people. It's like also this this like really like intense like fusion between like is a very intense rage at the police, but also like the joy of like being powerful together.
Sure. And what do you make of this situation where I've seen these like white libertarians, some call them like Boogaloo Boys, they've turned up armed and they're saying like, we're against this as well. This is bad. Why are they doing this? You know, I've seen them turn up. Now I've seen the media, some people in the media are saying they're like fascist infiltrators trying to cause chaos. Now, I don't know. I just, when I saw it, I thought, well, they're just angry as well. Like, do you know what I mean? But you've been on the ground. What's your take on all of that?
Well, I mean, first of all, on the ground, there was almost no, like, awareness of these boo-boo boys or anything like that. they're like not really like a relevant presence to people.
I expected as much. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that there's definitely like a worry about like fascists trying to like infiltrate the protest, especially like a little over 5 years ago. Or a little under 5 years ago was when a couple like 4chan like alt-right people, or maybe like before there was like a alt-right, came to a Black Lives Matter protest, and when they were asked to leave, opened fire, and some people were injured. So that's definitely like something people like know and remember. But also, from what I've seen and what I've like heard is that like a lot of people who would usually like like more right wing people who would like usually support the police are like not supporting the police in this instance. Like they actually like are pissed off, and they think that the like officers like murdered George Floyd. So I think that to some degree that some of the right wing people like Boogaloo Boys that are showing up do earnestly like want to be on the side of the protests. I don't know exactly like I don't have like a strategic line to say like whether or not they should be kicked out or not. But I definitely think that like they're not like really a relevant like presence. Like they're not like they're certainly like building any power by like joining the protests. I think that there's like a lot of paranoia that fuels around like especially like after like this news started coming in that they were there, then people started suggesting that like they had caused the violence at the protest, and then people started suggesting that people who are causing violence at the protest like were the Nazis, and it kind of fuels this sort of like paranoia feedback loop that like eventually just like ends up like disarming and policing people's like anger and rage, because like it's not what happened. Like there was actually just like a lot of like very angry youth, almost entirely people of color, just very pissed off at the police, who took very brave and courageous action to fight back against the police. It's not like instigated by anybody. Certainly not some like right wing boo boo boy.
Yeah, no, I was saying I think there's been a little bit too much emphasis put on that, perhaps on the whole like Twitter circle of things. But yeah, this keeps cutting out, man. I mean, is there anything else you want to say about these protests before we kind of let this go?
The last thing I was going to say was just how this pandemic sort of provides us some sort of tactical innovations, where if people are sort of like socially distancing from one another, they end up a lot more spread out, and they can things can sort of like happen in a way that like takes over even more space, spreads the sort of disruption to a lot of different areas, that like the police, they just like makes it like so much more ground that the police have to cover, which they just like can't do at this point. And also, just like so many more people are wearing masks, it's harder for the police to like pick out like, oh, those people in masks are like the violent ones or something. Like it's so much harder to like make those distinctions and to like sort of like implement control mechanisms in the protest. I don't know. So, but yeah, this is just so unprecedented. I really don't know what's going to happen next, and I just hope that people pay attention, and if they can, like act in their own cities and their own areas, and connect these struggles and these uprisings.
Unfortunately, we're having a lot of problem with the phone, so we had to kind of cut it short there. And again, apologies for the bad sound, but that was the only way I could do it. This guy is going out every single night to the clashes, to the protests, seeing what's going on, and then coming back, sleeping a bit, and going back out. So obviously he's very tired, didn't have time to get the sound sorted. If you want to look up the work of the group that guy is involved with, Vitalist International, you can look at them on Twitter at VitalistInt, so Vitalist INT. Quite an interesting group. I'm not associated with them in any way other than like, passing interest in what they're up to. But yeah, have a look if you want. Normally, this part of the show we would like, you know, the outro music, and we talk about the Patreon and everything. But honestly, like this situation, like if any of you've seen the video, there's just, I don't know, it just doesn't feel right to do that. Like it's just so horrific, you know. Like the guy's crying for his own mother at one point as the police is just choking him to death under his knee. Like it's unreal. So I wanted to like put something out, and I was watching this thing the other day while I was like kind of researching what's going on, and it's apparently a clip from some young lad that they interviewed in amongst the protests, some like news team. I thought it might have been an old clip, but apparently it's not. Apparently this is from the clashes on Tuesday night, but it is irrelevant either way. Just listen to it. What he said, I think he kind of, you know, listen to the people on the ground, listen to the people in the street. Maybe don't listen to the analysts and the kind of this, that, and the other so much with situations like this, because I don't know, when this is happening in the community, you have to listen to the people from the community 100%. So listen to what this lad says. I think, you know, it's just he just words it so well in terms of why everybody is kicking off right now. You know, obviously they are, but yeah, it's just listen to this.
For you guys to be okay tonight and to stop this chaos.
It ain't me. It's not me. I'm gonna let y'all know that now. It's not us guys neither. And I'm glad that y'all said that. It's not us. It's the police. This the madness that they spark up. This is what they encourage. This is what they provoke. This is what you get out of you taking a loved one from someone. This is what you get. You get a lot of people that's hurt, and they can't vent the right way. They can no longer depend on the police to be here to protect us like they say they gonna do. So this is what you get. And no, it's not gonna end today. I can't tell you it's gonna end tomorrow. I don't know when it's gonna end. But it's for y'all to start. We're not the ones that's killing us. Y'all killing us. We can't make a change if y'all don't change.